had been, the culture had continued to thrive even in these times of upheaval. But the Safavids, who established Shi'ism as the official state form of religion, and who were themselves of Turkic background, speaking a Turkic language at court, ushered in the worst of times in Iranian history. Damage done to the culture during these times of despotism and intolerance are still strongly felt today. It is a general misconception that Shi'ism is a particularly Iranian form of Islam and that it is somehow represents a special survival of Iranian ideas within Islam. This is basically not true. In fact, Sunni Islam itself is heavily influenced by Iranian ideas and practices from an early date. And after the 9th century, Iranian ideas flooded into the Islamic world through the Sufi schools, philosophers, and poets of Iran. The establishment of Shia Islam in Iran as a factor which separates the Iranian region from the Islamic areas is a fairly modern feature dating from this time of the Safavids, 1502 through 1722. The original stronghold of Shi'ism is not in Iran, but in the southern Mesopotamia, Iraq, which was often part of Iranian territory politically. This is no place to discuss the distinctions between Sunni and Shiite versions of Islam in any detail. It is not important to our major interest to fall of the Safavid state in 1722 ushered in an even more despotic, cruel, and violent chapter of history, greatly at odds with the Persian spirit of tolerance and enlightenment. Iran progressively came under the influence of foreign states, especially Britain and Russia, who played what came to be called the Great Game in the region. As the Persian state became weaker, the power of the Shiite clerics grew. Although there were many cultural accomplishments by Persian men of letters and philosophers, and the Persianized form of Islam known as Sufism was developed, the Iranians would never again rise to the level of cultural influence and power they had in the Zoroastrian ages of the Achaemenid, Parthian, and Sasanian empires. Islam brought corrupt, cruel, and decadent leadership to the land, and increasingly, instead of being an exporter of cultural and ideological material, the land came under foreign influences and domination. The grip of Islam and the Shiite mullahs tightened at the past glories of Zoroastrian Iran faded from the memories of the masses. The 20th century saw a new player enter the great game, the United States. These foreign players set up a new ruling family in Iran, which came to be called the Pahlavi dynasty. The major draw for these players were the oil reserves to be found in Iran. The Soviet Revolution ended, Russia began to spill out into Persia. To counter this, the British overthrew the Qajar dynasty and installed an obscure commander of a Cossack brigade as Shah, Reza Khan Pahlavi, 1926 through 1941. He embarked on a modernization campaign and ruled until he became too friendly with the National Socialists in Germany. Forced to abdicate, his son became Shah. The reign of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, 1941 through 1979, was marked by accelerated modernization programs, a fascination with the glories of the Iranian imperial past, a generally friendly attitude toward the state of Israel, and a dedication to containing the power of the ultra-conservative Islamic clerics or mullahs in Iran. The Shah was hated by both the far-left communists in his country as well as the Shiite imams. These leftists and religious zealots were in agreement about only one thing: the Shah and the culture he was attempting to re-establish had to go. It was estimated that the Shah had as many as 5,000 political prisoners in his jails, and his attempts to suppress these dissident forces were considered harsh by Western standards. He would quietly insist that his critics simply did not understand the nature of his opposition. In 1979, American politician led by a marginally qualified peanut farmer and part-time Baptist preacher withdrew support for the Shah of Iran, who was forced to flee the country as the chief cleric and Ayatollah Khomeini arrived to take control of the land soon, and ever since hereafter, the entire world would feel the effects of the forces of the embattled Shah and attempted to keep at bay many of the best elements of Iranian society immigrated to the Western lands, but many good people remained as well. Despite the so-called Islamic Revolution, it